Hey guys, it's Dan with the Corporate Thief Beats. You're watching another beat making showcase. This one is going to be much different than the other beat making showcases. This is more of a pop R&B type beat that I created today. It's more of a Rihanna type beat. I really like the production on some of the works that Rihanna sings over. And today I wanted to show you how I created this Rihanna type beat. This is more kind of live instrumentation sounding than your traditional kind of trap beat, kind of MIDI note kind of stuff. This sounds more like live instruments, and I'll break everything down. I'll show everything how I created it. The track is called Say to Me, and it's on 84 BPM. It's kind of a soft ballad pop R&B type track, and you can hear the instrumentation, and I'll just play the intro and then we'll talk about it. And I'll pause it there. And you can hear what that sounds like now. You can know that it's going to be that kind of pop R&B kind of ballad sound. But we'll just take a look at each individual instrument. Now, this is some stock stuff that's in Logic, and I think it sounds pretty good. I do have VSTis with pianos and stuff, but I think if you just learn how to use what you actually have, you could tweak it to make it sound even better than it already is within Logic. I've got a piano here, and you can hear it's just a piano within the ESX. It's a Steinway grand piano. I'm not going to tweak it now because I don't want to ruin the settings that I have. But obviously I've got some tape delay, compressor, and a channel EQ. I'll just show you the EQ that's on it. I've rolled off some of the low end, caught some at 500 hertz or 500 there, and I boosted a little bit there because I really want that kind of the keys to kind of peek through the mix. And we'll just listen to what it sounds like on its own. And I'll show you the now this is where I played it. Now I can't record and play it again because I'll have latency issues with the recording, but I can show you the chords that I played. And you can just hear the chords that I played, and I played a couple of chords, and then I have some kind of notes there with the piano, and I just kind of played that in and recorded it. And it took me a while to come up with this little melody. It's a nice little chord piano melody. Just played around. I just wanted 4 chords, simple. Like usually I play these kind of chords on the guitar first because I'm better at the guitar than I can play it on the piano. I'm better at playing guitar than piano, and I think I kind of just played around with the chords on my guitar, and then I kind of just said, no, you know what, this chords would sound better on the piano. So I took a while and I kind of practiced and played it then, and eventually I got it right. That's why you kind of see these notes in kind of weird areas, they're not really kind of quantized, and the reason why I didn't want that is because I wanted to make it sound like, oh well, I've played this, so it's not really tweaked in any way. I've kind of took my time and really played this in, and eventually came up with the perfect recording. Okay, and that's just the piano. And I have another piano coming in, and this is more of a pop piano. We'll just play that on its own. And I really just copied and pasted this part in. I didn't really want to be kind of looking for the perfect recording again because it takes too much time. And this piano is a bit more bassy in the sound than the original piano that I showed you a second ago. One second, I'll just pull this down a bit. And this is more bassy. It's got a different kind of sound with the reverb as well. It has a different kind of sound with the reverb. I've put reverb on them, on both of them. They're both bussed out to some reverb. Small hall, diffuse hall, and you can see large Prince hall. I'll just show you where they're going. Sorry now. I'll show you where you're going. You can see that there's a lot of instruments in this. This wasn't the easiest beat to mix, if I have to be honest. This took me a good couple of goes. Like, I come back to this beat another day and I'm just not happy with the mix. So we got drum verb, we've got, okay, these are the verbs for the pianos. So you can see there's Prince hall, small hall, and Prince hall, and we have a snare chamber that's for my drums there. So I have all these kind of different reverbs within Space Designer, and they're all bussed out, and you can see that I control them with the bus lever here. And where am I now again? So we're still on the pianos. We've only talked about the pianos. So you can hear what these two pianos sound like together. They both have different kind of EQs and different kind of compression on them, but they have levels as well. Their levels are different as well. 1 second now. And you can hear what those pianos sound like together. They sound thicker, like when they're on their own, they sound a bit thin. And together they sound, and it just has that kind of Rihanna kind of vibe to it. It has that Rihanna melody kind of vibe to it. Then I kind of bring in some sounds around it. Then these kind of sounds just act as pads in the background, so it just doesn't have a boring piano kind of sound on its own. Do you know, when it's just a piano on its own, it kind of just sounds a bit dull. These sounds kind of just give it an atmosphere. And you can't really hear them as much, but they do create that thing that I needed in the mix. They do create that kind of atmosphere. That's all they're doing. And they're all playing the same notes as the piano. I probably shouldn't do that. I probably should make them only play. Oh well, they kind of are. They're kind of playing just the chords of it. They're all playing the chords of the piano. They're not really playing the melody, because they have 2 or 3 notes here and there, but they're not really playing the melody. And there's a reason for that, because I think when you play melodies with pads, they tend to drag out and they'll kind of kill your mix a bit. They'll drag everything down. So I really just used the chords here predominantly for all these pads. And this is in Sculpture. This is a sound within Logic. A lot of stuff I'm using here is stock stuff, so anyone can make it really. It's not anything special. It's just a synth, a pad within Sculpture in Logic. So I can delete that again. The next one is in Massive. This was a sound in Massive, and it's called Bansuri in the Orange Sky. And we'll just kind of listen to what that sounds like without my and we can kind of listen to what they sound individually. So I'll just play each one of them individually. They're all pads really, and they just all kind of serve that purpose of creating that. that warmth in the mix. And you can hear what they're playing. And the last one, the airborne memories, and that's a sound within massive as well. Just a patch within massive. And basically they're just creating the atmosphere in the track. They don't have really a dominant sound. They're not really integral to it, but they really do keep the quietness. When I'm playing the verses, they're kind of important because the pianos aren't as loud in the verse. They kind of really, it's just really the bass guitar and the pads really, and they just kind of keep the atmosphere going until I hit the chorus again. And that's the main thing that you use pads for, is to create the atmosphere but not kind of interfere with the singer. It's kind of just kind of keeping the track busy for the singer to sing and kind of shine through, especially with a track like this. With rap kind of songs, you can get away with putting in a lot of melodies because a rapper doesn't really have to be in key as much because he's not singing, he's kind of just saying the words. Whereas a singer is really in key, you've got to be careful putting in a lot of sounds because they just won't like it. It'll interfere with them saying the words. So a lot of the time we put these pads in as well. And you can see that I kind of tweaked each individual EQ as well to get a good mix. Kind of just mixed around with the EQ so I could, you can see that I cut off a lot of the lows in this one. And each of them kind of just complement each other. And with the pianos then they just all sound perfect. Okay, and then you can see down here we have these beautiful strings coming in, and the strings are I think they just bring so much life to this R&B beat. They make it that pop sound, it makes it that Rihanna sound, and I'll show you what they play now. And they're kind of playing little sections within the mix. They're not playing complete, they're playing just little notes here and there. I'll show you what they're playing now. 1 second now. Okay, I'll just get rid of all those. And they're kind of playing the chords, they're kind of playing their own thing as well. They're kind of fighting with the chords a little bit. They're kind of playing down and going up. They're kind of playing a little bit different than the chords. Actually, they're playing the same thing, sorry. Some similar notes to the chords, actually. They're playing longer kind of chords than the pianos. 1 second now. And I'll just show you what they all sound like together. 1 second now. Again, they create this air within the mix as well. They create this space. They widen everything when you bring in these kind of strings. Because I think sometimes when you add certain instruments, they kind of act like EQs themselves because they push certain frequencies down in other instruments and kind of make their own space. And they kind of compress and kind of do stuff. And I feel like when you add sounds like this, they kind of really kind of do that. You can see it's just a stock sound within Logic. It's just called String Ensemble, and the other one was called Full Strings. They're both just in the ESX sampler. I'm not going to tweak anything there because I don't want to lose my settings. I did put on some spreader on them to give them a really wide feel. Again, the spreader is again on that one again, and it's much wider on that one. And I did widen them a lot. I didn't go crazy on the EQ because I felt like they were kind of serving their purpose. I did put on some kind of some reverbs on them as well. I bust out some reverb as well, and they do kind of have that wide stereo field in the mix. And from there, we kind of bring in the bass guitar, and the bass guitar kind of gives it a lift. I've cut out a lot of bass in most of the instruments, but then the bass guitar comes in and it really hits home. And I kind of went a bit crazy in this bass line. I kind of went, it's kind of playing a little bit of the chords, but it's kind of playing its own kind of thing as well. It's kind of playing half the chords and half the melody of the piano, basically. But I kind of tweaked around it. I kind of played around with it. I had something that I recorded, and then kind of moved some notes to make it kind of fit the way I actually wanted it to fit. And it has a really nice sound. It's called Liverpool bass, and it's kind of just like a real bass guitar kind of sound. Kind of has its own. And it doesn't really sound like a synth bass, even though it is a synthesizer. It's in Logic. It's just like within the ESX, and it has its own kind of sound. I do have an amp on it as well. And I kind of just put my own kind of warm kind of plug-in on it because I felt that was the sound I was looking for. I did kind of EQ a little bit of it. I did EQ it there in that section. I didn't cut off lots of highs because it kind of has that kind of lower notes or the higher notes in the kind of the riff where he's kind of just moving around in the bass guitar, and it just gives it that kind of high end kind of feel as well to it. It's just listen to it on its own. So, because if I cut all the highs off, it might ruin it. And it just sounds like a real bass player playing that. Like, it doesn't really sound like a synth guitar at all. And that bass, when that bass comes in, it really just kind of lifts the whole song. This kind of guitar comes in as well, this acoustic guitar. We'll just take a look at that, and that's really playing the same thing as the piano. It does kind of change up a little bit. A second now. It's playing a little bit lower octaves. It's kind of got different velocities. Probably took me a while to record this again. Okay, and you can hear that acoustic. And I did have to tinker with this a bit, but it does sound really nice. It's a really nice acoustic sound. It's in Logic again. This is just a stock sound within Logic. You can see it's in the ESX. It's called a steel string acoustic. I did kind of mess with the EQ. I do have an acoustic one on there, but I did cut out some and boost at certain frequencies just because I felt like it just needed to peak a little bit more. I had the spreader on. It's really wide sound. You can hear that from the mix as well. And I felt like I still wasn't getting the wide sound I wanted, so I added some tape delay, and then I have its own kind of plate reverb on it as well, and then there's a short ambient reverb on it as well, and I have a linear phase EQ as well, just to kind of cut out some more kind of sounds there as well. And it just took me a while to kind of tweak, because these are real instruments, real sounding instruments. They're a little harder to mix, I find, and because everyone knows what an acoustic sounds like, it's hard to kind of keep that kind of image in your head, especially with me as well, because I play guitar. I'm a bit more critical of these kind of VSTs. For years I would never use a VST guitar sound. I just didn't like them, but to me that sounds perfect. That sounds exactly like a guitar. all together. Wait, actually, there's just one more sound that I want to show you. Oh, I kind of have these kind of whoosh effects, and there's the common effects that you kind of hear me use. They're in salient 1, and actually they're not actually. It's actually in, yeah, it's in salient 1, and it's just kind of, 1 second now, what was that called? It's just kind of a sequencer. 1 second, we'll just play them. And the reason why I added these in, because I really want that sound to kind of make it feel like it's building up onto the hook. And this is just kind of your typical kind of sound. 1 second now. Your typical kind of whoosh effect sound here. Sorry, there it is. Sorry, my mistake. And that comes in there. And you can hear that I've kind of tinkered with not the velocity. Sorry, my mistake. With the automation of the volume as well. I've made the automation of the volume go down and on that effect there, because I felt it was bleeding into the mix for the next sound, and just to show you that you can see that happening. You can see that the fader here going down and up. And these are just effects. These are very little subtle effects that producers use to create that effect, or like we're hitting the chorus now, something interesting is happening. And it's just to kind of let everyone know about that and let the listener know. And here, let's see what it goes into. And basically what we have in here is just a bunch of choirs playing the same thing here, playing the same kind of notes. They're playing the kind of chords to the song. I'll just play the choirs. The choirs just kind of give it that kind of like, oh, it just beefs up the whole instrumentation, because we're playing the same as the intro. It just kind of lets you know that we're in. And you can hear that it just kind of beefs up it's kind of acting as another pad sound in the hook, really. And all these choirs are in the ESX within Logic. I've obviously EQ'd them and put some reverb on them as well, but I could be forever talking about the mix of a track. I just want to show you the instrumentation and the chords that I use really in this tutorial. And then I have 2 violins here now, and these violins kind of make a difference as well. I'll just let you hear what they sound like on their own, and they kind of play a melody part. And you can hear the little trick that I'm doing there. I'm only accentuating the melodies of the piano. And it's just a trick because they kind of come in and out of the mix. And it's a nice little trick to do. It's like you're keeping the same melody. You're not making conflicting melodies to make it difficult for the singer. You're playing the same melodies, but you're just playing them in certain areas where it kind of just has this kind of a trick on the ear. It's like this really nice ear candy to hear in the mix. I can play it all together, play all the violins. So I'll just play the piano and the guitar as well. And you can hear where the piano and like think of it like when you're listening to this, and I think of it like an orchestra where like the certain violins only played a certain time, and it just that's the way that I was trying to think of. And sometimes I hear instruments in like Rihanna songs, and they do this kind of trick a lot, where that violin will only play accentuate certain notes of the song. And it's just a little production trick that I see a lot of the time, especially in pop music. And we'll just play all the instruments again so you can hear without the drums. So we'll just play all the instruments and let you hear what it sounds like. And you can hear those violins playing in the background without being too dominant, but they still accentuate certain notes within the mix. Drums then are kind of simple. It is kind of hard to kind of play heavy drums in this track because you don't want it, but you kind of want it to drive the track as well. You don't want it to be boring. So I've doubled the kicks up. Then I've added a snare. And you can hear that I'm adding reverb to those snares as well. So 1 second, we just go back to the mix of the drums, and you can hear like with the reverb. I don't want to tinker with some stuff too much, so we'll just hear without the reverb. And it sounds so boring without that reverb. Hear the difference between that with the reverb without the reverb. My kicks kind of just sound kind of really heavy and kind of a good punch to them. I did just put a little bit of EQ on them and cut off a little bit of the mids, just a little bit, but there's a nice punch to them. But I did have to double them up to get it to cut through the mix. Then I have some hi-hats. Hi-hats are just kind of playing a simple pattern. And again, it's all effects really with this. Like this is all effects. Like you hear these hi-hats on their own, they sound terrible. They're two different hi-hats playing at different kind of notes, but it has kind of like a shaking sound, like the way that like a drummer would actually play. It's the velocities as well that come into. It's a nice rhythm. It's a really nice rhythm the way I kind of just put the hi-hats like that. 1 second now, sorry, I'm losing my focus. And you can see where the notes are, and they're just kind of playing off each other. But listen to when I actually put the reverbs back on again now and the delays. Listen, obviously you can see that I've spread it around as well. I've EQ'd the hi-hats as well, but I think it has to do with picking the sounds and then picking the reverb that goes with it as well. But and you can hear the difference between like with the reverb and without the reverb. It just makes a massive difference. And then I have some open hi-hats as well. And they just come in at every kind of fourth note of the song, and you can hear when they come in. And the whole thing with this drum beat is the reverb and making it sound like it's live. That's the whole thing with this drum beat. It's really all about making it sound like it's a real band playing. And you can hear the rides as well. That's just an extra cymbal there as well. And that's really the hook of the song, really. That's really it for the hook of the song. We'll just kind of listen to the hook on its own. And it really does have that kind of live Rihanna sound as well. And we just listen to the verse, and I think I've taken out some of the hi-hats here, taken out the open hi-hats here. I don't have all this kind of instrumentation playing. I do have like a mix-up. So this is the verse, and you can hear that I pulled off the drums here. And so these are all production tricks. This is where the production actually happens. All the instrumentation is already here. I just take stuff out and put stuff back in. So like there's a change here, there's a change here, and you can see there's just little changes everywhere, and then it kind of brings into the hook. And that's what we're all building up to. The only difference here now is that the piano plays just the chords. No, sorry, the piano just plays something different there. No, sorry, it's the guitar that plays something different. Guitar is actually playing a different melody altogether in this section. It's not playing the same melody that you heard in the first time, so we can just hear what it sounds like. Okay, and you hear that guitar sounds completely different than the guitar that was there a while ago. 1 second, we'll just play that guitar. And that's really it for it. That's really it, the difference between the verse and the chorus. There's no instrumentation, it's playing the same bass line. It's playing the same bass line as the hook. But I just have taken out so much stuff that it just sounds a bit lighter for the singer to sing. So they're going to really sing that melody. Also notice that the violins come back in here again for a change up. So we'll just add in the violins again. I like this kind of pre-chorus kind of stuff. This is something I do a lot in the beats that I make. And here I just took out all the drums and took out a lot of the instrumentation. It's really just playing the pads and the pianos. And it just kind of lets the singer sing something before she gets into the hook. The reason why I did that, because I felt when I was playing the verse straight into the hook, I just felt like there was no change in the energy of the song. I just really like listening to the pianos on their own like that. and I just felt like, you know what, this is the time to change it up and do something different, then kind of just make it go from verse to chorus. It was nice to bring in that the middle 8 in this kind of section here, and it's still within the time frame of the song as well to bring in a hook, because I've already played a hook here. It's okay to kind of take a little bit longer to get to that next hook. Second verse is the same, and then again I have a little bridge at the end as well. I'll show you the bridge one sec now. And the bridge just plays at the end of the song, so it's playing the hook here again. And then it goes into the hook here, and then we just play the outro of it. So I'll just play from here. And you could hear what I just did there. And that's just kind of, I think that kind of sound just really sums it up as a Rihanna track for me, this kind of sound here. And you can hear why I mentioned those violins a while ago, why they sound so important, what notes they're accentuating in the mix. And they just create a beautiful movement within it. You can actually picture like an orchestra sitting there playing this song. And I kind of just ended there with just the pianos, and it just kind of ends with the pianos at the end. And that's really it. You definitely hear the Rihanna kind of track kind of feel to it. But it's all about picking your instruments again, guys. I can never say that enough. It's all about picking your instruments, taking the time to mix stuff properly. If something's not working, get rid of it. This beat took me a while to make, and anyone that lives with me knows that they've been listening to me mix this forever, and I just think it's something that I kind of like making, but I kind of find it challenging at the same time. But you can hear that Rihanna kind of pop vibe in it, and it's a really cool beat. If there's anything that I'm missing in it, like if I didn't talk about something in it, just let me know in the comments and I'll try and make a video for you guys. I hope you guys learned something from this one. I really like these beats. I think I kind of explain these ones better than the trap ones. Some of the trap kind of beats that I make are a bit minimalistic, and because that's the way people want them these days, and it's kind of hard to talk about stuff that's kind of very samey. This has a lot of instruments in it, and I hope I didn't ramble on too much, but don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll check you out in the next video, guys. Take care. Thanks for listening.